Hello, magnificent eyeballs. It's Thursday, November 12th, 2020, and we do warmly welcome you to the Voicing the World Late Night Noisecast, episode 15. Once again doing what we can and what we must to ensure feasts of reason, flows of soul, and stolen moments of artistic celebration in the less than roaring 20s. On the show tonight, we're bringing new adventures in Super Circle sound from titan of jazz piano, Mr. Rob Barron and his trio. From the inspirational lyric soprano and founder of the Everybody Can platform, Nadine Benjamin. And my longtime friend of noise, Mr. Nick Pini, stops virtually by to drink, laugh, and speak of his many glorious projects in the time of Corona. I begin tonight's episode with Electoral College winning numbers of gratitude for all of your wonderful feedback and interactions across the interweb, the text messages, the emails, the book face, the TubeU, and such. It is now day 252 here in the Voicing the World bunker, and with so much luscious music on which to ride the evening's waves of air, I move heartily now to our first Super Circle luminary, a musical collaborator of mine for some 19 years now, and a true gentleman of jazz. We heard his poignant rendition of We'll Be Together Again back in Season 1 of the Noisecast, and tonight we broadcast his new video. This is the Rob Barron Trio, along with a fine sense of what it feels like to be part of the Rob Barron Trio, with their take on the Ellington classic, In a Sentimental Mood. The Rob Barron trio there, Jeremy Brown on bass, Josh Morrison plays drums, in Ellingtonian mode and placing me squarely in a sentimental mood. Sentimental for our 19 years together, for the good old days at Leeds, swinging years away on a jazz studies course, and for the large asteroid-heavy integrity he brought to every noise and time we've made and spent together. Links below to Rob's website and the album that track is taken from this moment on. You know what to do by now, folks. So what's going on? Well, I've been taking note of and considerable heart from the manner in which the creative arts have been really getting after it during lockdown 2 these past few weeks, with new initiatives springing up everywhere and something of a restorative sense of resilience in the air. I have personally wrestled for many a decade with the old adage that if you were once strong enough to conjure your first dream existence, as it were, you are now strong enough to conjure a new dream. The dizzying number of new dreams that I'd brought into this decade turned out not to include any of the new dreams I actually find myself pursuing today as this year draws to its very welcome conclusion. Don't get me wrong, this is not an endorsement of the notion that it's time to retrain in cyber. Far from it. Rather, it's a stolen moment of honest reflection upon the following. COVID-19 has pressed a big red reset button on global proceedings and substantively expedited the technological revolution in progress. As individuals and as a collective, we are actively encouraged through social media to obsess over the short term, in many cases on a minute-by-minute basis. I would argue here that the only way we'll get to bring that essential heart of our original dream trajectories to bear in the coming years is by obsessing instead over the long term, by letting go of the minute-by-minute distractions, and by proactively refusing to relinquish control of our drive and focus to those temporary systemic shifts and reactive political leaders so prominent at this juncture in the journey. Speaking of resilience and faith in one's drive, focus and dreams, I turn now to another Super Circle luminary, Nadine Benjamin. Musically, a soprano of stunning capacity, and, in entrepreneurial terms, the founder of Everybody Can, a platform to encourage others to believe in themselves and to support their recognition that whatever they envision for themselves can in fact be achieved. A recent ENO Harewood artist, Nadine is also a certified NLP mind coach, a certified high-performance coach for personal and professional development, and is known for her creative spiritual thought leadership. Her safe-at-home sessions play on Facebook and YouTube, and I highly recommend that you check out all of her work in all of its glory. Here now then is a rather beauteous video filmed at Loch Lomond, Trossach National Park indeed, in Scotland, telling the story of the Sir Walter Scott poem Lady of the Lake, which Schubert used, of course, as the text on which to set Ave Maria. Nadine Benjamin there with Kamal Khan on piano, Ave Maria, and links to the album that it's from, Love and Prayer, below as ever. You know what to do, folks. Time for some interview groove now then. And words fail to capture what the man you're about to hear from means to me in the fullest sense. So for once in my life, I will attempt something of a self-edit here and simply introduce that finest purveyor of second-hand bass notes and engine room monster and arranger of noise for Laura Marling, Ethan Johns, and Tom Jones, to name but a few, Mr. Nick Pini. I will say there is but one edit this evening as a result of further rain-induced broadband failure in these preposterous times. Spoiler alert, all I was asking Nick was when last we convened, and it was during a viewing of The Rise of Skywalker back in January. Without further ado then, for all you Star Wars fans and otherwise a little nod there, without further ado, Mr. Nick Pini. Do you ever feel like you're being watched? Constantly, yes. I seem to be eternally at the mercy of those adverts at the moment, so
yeah.
Clearly.
Well, I mean, it's mainly because I haven't worked out how to stop the live stream on Facebook.
Yes, I've enjoyed some of your more intimate moments of late, shall we say. Nick Pini, as I live and breathe, how the devil are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. Very well. How are you?
Good, man. You're looking glorious as ever. I'm all right, thank you. I've accrued a small box from which to broadcast for all future moments, thus immortalized in LED.
Are you in a cardboard box in your living room? Is that?
I'll have you know this is Britain's finest MDF. Thank you. I understand you picked a drink for us to enjoy this evening. What's happening in your glass?
Well, I actually went for, there's a chap I know down in Somerset called Brian, who runs a microbrewery. I'd say microbrewery. It's so small, it's pretty much bespoke brewing.
Right.
And but he still thinks of himself as quite a large company. So whenever you phone him, he picks up the phone and says, "All right, Trout's kneecaps."
Bespoke Brian then.
That's his company name. But yeah, so I'm enjoying a pint of his finest.
Excellent. Well, I too are raising a macro glass for a microbrewery. So cheers, good sir.
Oh well, cheers to you. Mine comes in a sealed container.
Ready for Armageddon. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Cheers.
Cheers, dear boy. So, what's been going on in the fine purveying of second-hand bass notes out of Nick Pini since last we met? The Rise of Skywalker there being the last time that we saw each other. Indeed, the year turned out to be far from the rise of anything, rather the great fall and reset. But we had two evening meals that night, as I recall, out of necessity.
Yes, indeed. 2 evening meals and quite a few pints.
Indeed. Well, we were celebrating the Roaring Twenties as we perceived them to be.
Yeah, we didn't know the Great Depression was around the corner.
No. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. Yes. So, anything of note taken place since then, dear boy?
Well, I mean, so far survived the apocalypse quite well. Fought off all the zombies.
I knew you would.
Thank you. Yeah, and so been actually surprisingly busy, which is a relief.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's been a number of live stream concerts which have been very fun. We did played a BBC Proms with Laura Marling. That was very good. With I believe they're called the 12 Ensemble. Absolutely fantastic bunch of young string players, really, really stunning, and of course all appropriately socially distanced and in an empty Royal Albert Hall. But it was a mind-blowing experience, really. Yeah.
Wonderful. Our media manager at 12th Pier, Alex, it's her favorite record at the moment. She wanted me to pass on her her joy at hearing it quite frequently these days. So yes, a big fan.
Oh well, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of that record. I think I think the songs are stunning. The playing on it, the musicians involved, and obviously Laura. What more can you say? But I think it's a stunning album.
Talk us through the experience of that in terms of the Albert Hall, but audienceless, in terms of what you were riding off energy-wise in that moment.
Well, I think we set it up quite well in that we weren't all facing out into an empty Albert Hall. We were actually in a semicircle around Laura, with Laura facing us.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all, from where I was, I could see the whole ensemble. Apart from the bass player behind me, the other double bass player, it's quite funny. I mean, he's a fantastic musician, a way better classical musician than I am. But I mean, I'm the bass player in Laura's band, so it sort of made sense that I was in front of him. But there were moments, especially in the rehearsals, when I was turning around and just going, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what the bowing should be for that, and I could hear you were trying to follow me, and I was just making it up. So.
Dear. Bringing variety as ever to the situation.
Yeah. It was great fun.
What would the what has been the response to that performance, and are there plans with Laura to do a similar setup again?
I think there are plans for something ambitious in the new year. We were going to try and do it this year, but just it was too much pressure to try and get it together, especially with all the changing regulations on who can do what and how many people can be where. It just didn't make sense to try and fit it in this year. So yes, there's a plan to do something exciting next year. I'd say I'm not really at liberty to divulge more, but actually
Sure.
I don't really know anything about it. I just know that we're doing something.
The true NDA setup there.
Yes.
Yeah. If he doesn't know, it can't harm him. Yes. Wonderful. We have, of course, another Welshman in common in so far as Sir Tom Jones is concerned. I understand you've been working with him through Ethan Johns for our Welsh contingent. Could you tell us a little bit about? I'm a huge fan, as you know, of the Praise and Blame record and the Spirit in the Room, and so I'm fascinated to see what's coming next.
Well, this is, I would say, a sort of step beyond those records. I mean, I'm such a fan of those records as well. I would, not a step beyond it. I just mean a development from there. It's still very live. Still just musicians in the room, playing their parts, and Tom just singing live. Just a lot of improvisation, some unusual arrangements of songs that you would recognize. Again, I don't know how much I should say about this, really. I mean, it was an incredible experience, a unique experience. I've never done anything like it, and probably will never again. I've never seen anyone break a preamp with their voice.
That sounds about right. Yes.
Yeah, but I think during that session he went through, he went through two preamps and a microphone. Just the amount of power coming off of that physique is just extraordinary. The engineer Don Monks was saying, normally you'd separate the vocalist from the band because you don't want the drums going down the vocal mic. But in Tom's case, you separate him from the band, so you don't want the voice going down the bloody drum mics.
Oh dear, a supreme accolade.
Yeah,
in recording history there. Fantastic. Yeah. When do the results of that drop?
Well, it was supposed to be this year, and yeah, it's all been pushed back by a long way. The idea was that it would be a sort of 80th birthday celebration album, but obviously that was in April, and that wasn't a good time for it. So yes, I believe the plan is next year, at some appropriate moment when it would be possible to do a concert or two, or something along those lines.
Yeah. We've been attempting to celebrate in this season the creativity and the drive of creative forces against the tide, as it were, of COVID and otherwise. What for you has been the feeling on the ground through this? What sort of projects do you feel are gaining traction and are potentially, if not future-proof, then forward-looking?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people asking a lot of questions about this. A lot of people are worried. There's a lot of recording going on at the moment. Obviously, people are just doing what they can to stay creative and invest in the future of themselves as artists. And there's a lot of questions as to whether that investment will come off, and also that there might be just thousands of albums being released next year. Because everyone's doing the same thing, everyone's recording. And so, yeah, a lot of questions about when things are actually going to come out. I think I've been working on some really exciting things. Actually, another Welshman for you, a chap called Al Lewis. I've been doing some things with him. Last year we recorded a Welsh language album, which was just fantastic. We had so much fun doing that. I have to confess, I had absolutely no idea what was happening.
Insofar as the narrative of the song is concerned, or just generally?
Just generally. I mean, I was standing there doing, just playing the double bass, and then a voice would come through the headphones saying, "Could you maybe when we get to the chorus, could you try something that just in a different register, maybe up there?" And I just go, "I don't know where the chorus is." I have no idea.
It's okay. It's okay, folks. I'm Welsh, so he's allowed to say this. I'll take it on the chin for us all.
But that album's based on a book which I have around here somewhere, called Tea in the Heather, which is a beautiful book about rural Welsh life. Quite a long time ago, though, I think about 100 years ago. It's sort of documenting the perception of a small girl of her surroundings and what Welsh life is like. It's a stunning book, and the album is actually well worth checking out. I'd be giving Al a good plug here because he's a good one.
Wonderful. Besides the projects that you've been involved with, where are you drawing inspiration from in terms of your own creative prowess at this moment?
Well, yeah, I mean, I found myself taking slightly different roles these days. 4 years ago, I would have called myself primarily a live performing musician who did some session work when it came up. I mean, luckily for me, over the past few years, I've done more and more session work. Kind of perfectly coincided with the complete removal of live music. So these days, I don't know, I think my primary motive and principle behind pretty much everything I'm doing, whether I'm producing for someone or mixing or doing just putting down a bass part for someone or something like that, is that, the one thing we can cling to at the moment to keep ourselves going is our humanity, and to understand the humanity of other people, the different situations people are in, because everyone is experiencing this differently. It's affecting everyone differently. For musicians, the world has shut down, actors and other kinds of performing artists, everything's just stopped. But there's a building site next to my flat, and they didn't stop for the whole thing. They just kept going. Every day those guys are showing up and working on this project.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sort of understanding, trying to bring a sense of understanding and sympathy and sensitivity to everything I'm doing at the moment, I think is the primary thing. And that's what's keeping me motivated anyway.
Mr. Nick Pini there, consuming the contents of his chosen microbrewery from a apocalypse-proof flask, and in self-reflective and profound mood as ever. My thanks to him for taking the time to talk, and of course to all of you magnificent people for taking the time to watch this evening's show. It is my great honour once again to bring the luminaries of my super circle to your kind attention, as we seek collectively to supercharge the resilience of creative forces, athwart the short-term reset tide. Until next Thursday then, I'm Michael L. Roberts. Good luck, stay legendary, and ever onward to you all.